I've opened 6 self-storage sites and I've made almost every single mistake in the book. And here are 32 lessons I wish I knew before I got started. I'll be honest, you may want to get a pen and paper because, as you can imagine, I have made a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of notes to be taken. And by the way, if you want to watch me build my self-storage empire in public, you can watch it in real time through my daily newsletter. The link is in the description. It's mrselfstorage.com, and every single day I tell you how the previous day's done, all the results, all the conversions, all the money taken, and an operation self-storage tip as well. Right, let's go. Lesson numero 1. Location, location, location. Baby. I don't know why I wrote down baby, all right? Location, 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 baby. I'll never forget one of my clients. Let's call him David. He opened a self-storage site in a very, very quiet town. To be honest, the population just wasn't big enough to support his site. He did everything right. The marketing, ran every promo under the book, tried every trick, but no customers came to him. It was heartbreaking. No matter how hard he pushed, the numbers just weren't there. Here's the self-storage truth. The area matters more than almost anything else. You can be a marketing genius, but if you build in the wrong location, you're fighting a losing battle. That's why before I do anything else, you need to nail site selection. When David came to me asking for help, I literally couldn't do anything at all. He made that one killer mistake. He opened in the wrong area. To this day, he is the only self-storage operator that I have known where it hasn't been a goldmine. And I feel really, really bad for him because he got that one mistake wrong. Lesson number 2, test. Before I opened one of my most successful storage sites, I was honestly unsure if it would even work. Instead of guessing, I put dummy ads on Facebook Marketplace and Gumtree just to see if there was real world demand. I got genuine inquiries even before there was even a site to visit. It gave me amazing confidence to go ahead. And now the site is, I was going to do that. It's amazing. It's smashing it out of the park. If you're on the fence about location, the lesson here is simple. Test the market with dummy ads before you commit. It's the easiest way to know if there's demand, and you don't have to spend a penny on the lease at all, or testing the demand. It's all free on Gumtree and Facebook. Lesson number 3. Oh God. Do not be a big mouth, and that's a problem that I really have. Let me tell you about a time I met a landlord in Scotland early on in my self-storage journey. This still hurts right now, even talking about it, because it was a great site and I messed it up. I was so excited about this site and I wanted to impress the landlord. I sat down with him. I enthusiastically shared my entire business plan, explaining why self-storage was such an incredible opportunity, a great investment, the numbers, the projections, even the exact strategies for getting up and running. He seemed really, really interested. In fact, he loved the idea. He nodded along, asked great questions, and in my head, it couldn't have gone any better. A few months later, after loads of unanswered emails and telephone calls, I just couldn't get in touch with the landlord. It turns out the landlord was as excited about self-storage as I was, and he'd taken my plan and opened his own self-storage business on that exact site without me. Lesson number 4, don't slash rates. Here's a real world one from one of my self-storage sites. One morning, we found out that a new self-storage facility had opened up literally next door. Their prices were lower than ours, and I was worried we'd lose customers. But instead of panicking and slashing my rates, I knew we had to get strategic. We quickly crafted a sales script and trained our entire team. So every call, every inquiry, we could clearly explain why we offered more value, even though our prices were higher. We highlighted our security, our access, our units being better, the extras you couldn't get with the new guys. And you know what? It worked. At this site, we are currently nearly full. This next lesson, it's a painful one. And you'll see why. Lesson number 5. Friends love self-storage as well. Here's a lesson that I never thought that I would be taking. Success can sometimes attract copycats, including your own friends. A while back, a guy I called a friend bought my self-storage course. I thought he just wanted to support me or maybe learn a little bit on the side. But before I knew it, he'd set up in direct competition with me. Not in a different town. Oh, no. On the same town, just quarter of a mile away from my patch. Fortunately for both of us, we picked a good area with still enough demand, so we're both doing well. But I can't lie, it still annoyed me. But if I'm honest, he's a lovely kid, and to this day, we are still mates, believe it or not. And to be fair, it doesn't actually stop there. My very, very, very best mate rang me up a couple of months ago. I've known this kid since I was 3 or 4 years old. And he rang me up and said, Dean, I found a great site. It's in Beverley. I was like, I'm in Beverley. He goes, do you mind if I open? And he goes, like I said, mate, I'll be honest with you. No, I was really blunt. And I just said, that's the one place I don't want any competition. Luckily for me, he respected me and didn't move on with that site. So the takeaway, it's simple. My friends suck. I'm after new friends. No, I'm only kidding. The lesson here, and by the way, I hope my friends don't see this. When you start doing well, people will follow your lead. Take it as a compliment. Lesson number 6, shout, and shout some more. When I first opened my self-storage site, I'll admit it, I bought into the old build it and they will come myth. I really thought as soon as we opened the doors, the customers would roll in. Easy peasy, right? It wasn't quite like that. I opened up and nothing. It was crickets. I'd invested all that time, all that energy, and for weeks, not a single call, not a single booking. It quickly dawned on me that just having a great facility doesn't mean everybody knows you exist. So I threw myself into learning everything I could about customers and marketing. I put out signs, I ran ads, and by the way, the signs I put out, they got taken down by the council and I got a warning. I hand-delivered leaflets. I did whatever it took to let people know we was there. And once people actually knew we was there and found us, something changed. Before long, we filled up that entire site within 9 months. The takeaway here is simple. Do not do a Dean. Build it and they will come. No, you have to do the work. You have to let people know you are there. Lesson number 7. Every single quote matters. When I first started, I'll be honest, following up on quotes just wasn't a priority to me. I know it's bad, now I said it out loud. I'd get an alert saying that somebody had inquired on the website, then I'd forget about it, assuming, do you know what, if the customers really wanted the unit, they'd simply book. Wrong. Honestly, I can't believe that I thought that looking back now. I realise just how much business I must have lost. All that changed when I hired my first team member, Angela, and she spotted it straight away. And she knew that we were missing a trick by not following up, simple follow-up with potential customers. She suggested a simple process. Give every inquiry a polite call back. Send a friendly text or a reminder email. At first, I was like, do we really need to chase the customers? But I trusted her, and we tried it. The results were night and day. Almost instantly, our conversion rate doubled. It turned out plenty of people were just busy or distracted. They needed that extra little nudge to buy the unit. Lesson number 8 follows on nicely from lesson number 7. Follow-up is key. I'll be honest, even though I knew I should follow up on inquiries, like Angela suggested, I didn't see the harm of waiting a few hours and getting back to people when it suited me. But it wasn't before long I realised something important. The faster I replied to new inquiries, the more customers actually booked. I know, shock, horror. Getting back to people quickly actually worked. Go figure. So I set a new rule in the team. Every quote, every inquiry gets a response in under 5 minutes. Ideally, really want to be under 60 seconds, but under 5 minutes is okay. If they're getting a quote from me, they are probably getting a quote from someone else as well. And I want to be the first person to contact them. That single change, getting to customers within 5 minutes, transformed our conversion rates. Lesson number 9, don't copy. When I first started out, I did exactly what most newbies would do. I checked the price of the competition and I just copied their prices. I figured if it works for them, do you know what? It'll be fine. It'll work for me. Trouble was, I didn't stop to think that our site was much better. It was in a much better area. And being honest, our units were miles better as well. It was newer as well. I was selling champagne self-storage at lemonade prices. After a while, it dawned on me that maybe, just maybe, we could charge what we're truly worth. So we put our prices up, stopped trying to blend in with the other guys, and guess what? The revenue shot up. Turns out our customers were happy to pay the extra for quality and convenience. Lesson number 10. 100% full is not as good as you think. I know, this blew my mind as well. Here's a moment I'll never forget. It was embarrassing. I went on a sales training course for self-storage. The trainer was going around the room asking everybody what their occupancy was, 78%, 82%, 67%, and so on and so on. I was sat there with my chest out, actually thinking, do you know what? I'm the man here. Wait till he hears about my occupancy. He gets to me, I grin, and I go, 100% full. I was dead proud. Why wouldn't you be? Without missing a beat, he just gives me a look and says, that's the market telling you you're too cheap. You always need something to sell. You could and should be selling at much higher prices. The more the demand, the higher the prices should be. The penny dropped. I went home and I bumped up my prices straight away and saw my revenue increase by 30% overnight. The takeaway here is very simple. Don't treat 100% full as a badge of honor. It's really not. In fact, it's the opposite. It's the indication telling you that you're too cheap and there's a lot more profit you're leaving on the table. Lesson number 11. Customers stay far longer than you would expect. The customer walks in and says, I'll need this for just a month or two. It happens all the time. And guess what? Once people get used to having that extra space in their life, they love it and almost always stay far longer than they ever planned. Because I understand now that customers stay far longer, we happily use offers and deals to get people in to sign up. I know most end up staying a lot longer and paying way more than they ever expected. Most self-storage customers stay 3 to 4 times longer than they expected in the first place. This means you'll earn 3 to 4 times more money from that customer. It's worth having offers like 50% off for your first 4 weeks or 50% off for your first 8 weeks just to get them through the door. Lesson number 12. Not all customers pay. What? No way. Yep, believe it or believe it not all customers pay. When I bought a self-storage site in Wrexham, the previous owner's approach was basically, people will pay when they can. I don't really want to chase them. The result? Thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds in outstanding payments. So the first thing we did after taking over that site was set up a proper debt procedure system. Nothing crazy, just something very simple. As soon as a customer missed their payment, we had an automated email and text sent out to them to remind them that they missed the payment. It was as simple as that. And guess what? Our bad debt dropped from thousands of pounds to under hundreds overnight. So the takeaway, some customers won't pay until you actually chase them. Lesson number 13, my website sucked. My first website was, let's be honest, pretty shocking and not user-friendly at all. If somebody wanted a price or to book a unit, all they could do was request a callback and then wait for me to ring them. Not exactly 10 out of 10 customer service. To be fair, it didn't really matter because we were still getting lots of customers, but I knew if I wanted to open more sites, I would have to become more professional. I realized my website should be working around the clock for me. After a bit of effort, some tweaks, and making things clearer, now it actually runs like a dream and brings in customers day and, more importantly, at night as well when we're closed. My website is like having a full-time salesperson. It never sleeps, it never takes a day off, and it never complains. Your website is your shop front. Don't overlook it. It's such a powerful investment. So many people still overlook websites. Lesson number 14, booking online is essential. I hate saying this, but I didn't fully invest in booking online until COVID. It was a real wake-up call for me and the industry. We now have a big percentage of our customers book online and then move into the storage without even speaking to us. People even book when we're asleep. In fact, I have one client that has 95% of his customers, believe it or not, moving in without ever speaking to him. That's crazy. The site runs just about without him, and every time I talk to him, he's literally in a different country. Crazy to think my company didn't offer this at all until 5 years ago. See, we all make mistakes, and that is one of the big fundamental mistakes that I made, not using technology fast enough. Now we do. Lesson number 15, selling boxes isn't worth it. There, I said it. Do you know what? I can see you other self-storage operators shaking your heads at the screen right now as we speak. It's certainly a controversial subject, this one, but at our Willoughby site, we sell boxes for home movers, etc. But in all honesty, it's not worth it. We only make around £1.50 after each box. Don't forget, we have to mess around ordering the boxes. And not just one. Oh no, we can't order one box, we've got to buy in bulk. Then when the delivery comes, it can take hours moving them to the storeroom. And by the way, one of the storerooms is one of the units we could be selling. Then we have to sort them out in displays for the boxes, and it goes on and on and on. And there's so much effort to put into selling boxes, and I hate it. The staff hate it as well. So in all of our other sites now, we ditched box sales entirely. After all, it's less than 1% of our revenue and takes up around about 8% of our time. The math just ain't mathing. Life got a lot simpler. The staff were happier, and we didn't miss out on that profit or revenue at all. Lesson number 16, manless sites are the future. One of the biggest misconceptions I had was thinking self-storage would eat up all my time. It turns out, once a customer moves in, they simply don't need you anymore. Back when I started 14 years ago, everything was manual. I'd meet every customer in person, hand over the keys, collect signatures, take payments, and then I'd meet them again just to collect the keys when they moved out. It was a slow and really painful process. It was time consuming as well. But now, oh man, the self-storage game is so much easier. The specific self-storage software that you can use that gives you a custom website, lets customers book and pay and sign up and move in all online. You don't have to lift a finger or pick up the phone. And it's way more affordable than you would ever imagine as a software. We have introduced simple automations like software, and it's massively decreased the amount of time that we have to physically spend on site. 6 of my 7 sites are manless, and every site I open in the future will be manless as well. Why pay money, expenses for staff when you don't have to? We have it so easy now. And back then, when I started 14 years ago, I'd compare that period to what it's like now, and it's night and day. We've got to utilise and take advantage of the software that's on offer. We're following on from the manless sites, lesson number 16. I want to hammer this drum home. Lesson number 17, manless sites are possible. I really think that most people opening self-storage should look at this strategy. Please don't overlook it. I did for a long time. My first manless self-storage site was my Clough Road site in Hull. At first, I'll be honest, I really doubted if it'd work, and I questioned if it was even possible. No staff on site. It sounded really risky, but with some basic software, PIN code entry at the gate for the customers, a few cameras scattered around here and there, it actually ran better than my manned location. Honestly, I kid you not, it was much easier for us to run it. It's so surprising. The best part, because we didn't require any staff, the expenses were down, so the profits were up. I have 4 more sites opening in the next coming months. And guess what? They're all going to be manless. So running manless sites isn't just possible. I actually think it's an absolute no-brainer. It's easier for the customer, less time consuming for you, and way, way more profitable. So it's a win, win, win. Lesson number 18. Revenue management makes an exceptional site. When we bought our Wrexham site, it had no revenue management. The turnover was around about £80,000. Don't get me wrong, that's a nice start, but it wasn't close to its potential, and more importantly, it was actually losing money. So I put in a proper revenue management system, tracking demand, adjusting prices based on that demand, and occupancy as well. So the higher the occupancy, the higher the prices. The lower occupancy, the lower the prices. It's just like the airlines. Example, when demand is high, we make the prices high. When demand is low, the prices are low. We were basically optimizing rates like the professional operators do. Something that in my early self-storage operator journey, I wouldn't even think about doing. Within no time, that site was turning over £240,000. That's incredible. I'm really proud of myself there. That's an increase of £150,000 in revenue. Honestly, I sometimes feel a little bit upset for the previous owners. We weren't operating the site massively different. We just implemented some changes here and there, and that was the difference between making absolutely nothing, in fact losing a little bit, and making 6 figures profit. I feel really sorry for him. And by the way, there's a full breakdown of that Wrexham video of how I turned that Wrexham site down from losing money to making over 6 figures. It's coming up on this channel. I think it's earmarked for next week as well, so watch out for that one. I've already done it, by the way. I've already made it, and I really, really enjoyed recording that one and getting all the numbers and stuff. It was fantastic. Lesson number 19. Insurance is also a win-win for you and the customers. When I first opened my self-storage site back in 2012, I didn't charge customers insurance. That is a massive L, a massive mistake. But you don't know what you don't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. I only found out about insurance because I mystery shopped a competitor in Doncaster around about 12 years ago. They made insurance mandatory for every customer. Not only that, they also had a minimum insurance. So the higher the room size, the higher the minimum insurance you'd have to take. It honestly blew my mind. It was actually a win-win for everybody. The customers win because they have peace of mind that their goods are insured for a few pounds a week. And we win as self-storage operators because we increase our revenue and therefore our profit. I immediately introduced this to all my existing customers, and my revenue shot up by around about £30,000 a year. I look back at this one lesson and I'm so thankful I learned it fairly early on in my self-storage journey. So many operators I come across still aren't charging insurance. So if you open a self-storage site, please, for the love of God, charge insurance. It will make a huge difference to you guys. Lesson number 20, profit margins. A mate of mine was in the pub. He was boasting about hitting a 22% profit margin in his business. He was all smiles. He then asked about self-storage. And I hate these type of conversations, to be honest. I feel a bit of a douche. I told him, yeah, to be fair, it's pretty good. It's all right. He pushed some more, so I told him. The self-storage industry reports that the average returns are about 41%. About 41%. If I'm honest, I actually hit over 50%. He couldn't believe it. That's when it hit me. Being in self-storage isn't just good, it's ridiculously good for profit margin. The lesson here is I should have gone all in on self-storage sooner rather than opening other businesses like a restaurant. Long story, I'll tell you over a beer sometime. Let's not go there. Needless to say, I lost a lot of money with that restaurant. To be honest, I've rectified it by going all in on the self-storage gain. Lesson number 21, rent. How much should you be paying? I wish I had this formula I'm about to tell you when I first started out. I literally had no idea what was good rent and what was overpaying for rent. But after years of second guessing, I landed on this really simple formula. And luckily for you guys, I'm going to share it right now. Your rent should be no more than 25% of your yearly revenue at maturity. So if you think your site has the potential of bringing in £200,000 a year in revenue, then your rent should be no more than £50,000 a year. It's not rocket science. I honestly like to keep things as simple as possible, and I like a margin for error. So if we keep the rent ratio like that, it's perfect. Every client of mine now knows this rule and can spot easy sites, easy winning sites, simpler. Lesson 22, it's not too late. And I'm so passionate about that. But before I get into it, for those of you who are eagle-eyed, you would notice that I've got a different hoodie on. It's potentially lit different. It's because when I was recording before, I actually forgot to record lesson 22. Hey, we all make mistakes, don't we? That's why we're here. Okay, so let's get on with it. It's never, ever too late. My friends, I will die on this hill. I am so passionate about this. People come to me all the time and say, but Dean, isn't self-storage oversaturated now in the UK? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. If you look at America, yes, I know we're not exactly the same as Americans, but there is definitely some similarities. In America, there is depending on which state, it's between 9 and 15 square foot per person. Obviously, it varies from state to state, but listen to that, 9 square foot per person to 15 square foot per person. In the UK right now, it is under 1 square foot of self-storage for every single person in the UK. So we could potentially increase 15 times and still just reach America. But if that doesn't convince you, listen to this. Even in Australia, self-storage is 3 times more popular than it is over here in the UK. I promise you, you will look back on this era as a golden era for self-storage. Yes, the best time was to open a self-storage 10 years ago, 5 years ago, but the second best time is right here and right now. There is so much expansion coming into this industry, and right now is the second best time to get into self-storage. I can absolutely assure you, you will look back, like I say, in 5 years' time and just think, oh my goodness, self-storage was so easy 5 years ago. This is right now. So please, lesson number 22, please don't think it's oversaturated, because I promise you there is so much growth in this industry. It's still so very, very young. Lesson number 23. Oh, this one's a bad one. Negative cash flow. Not many people in self-storage will talk about this. It's like the industry's dirty little secret. But if you ever do come into the industry, I want you to be fully armed with all the pros, because there's loads, but also the negatives as well, the cons. Negative cash flow nearly killed my business even before we got started. Here's what happened. When I opened my second site, I thought I accounted for every penny I needed to spend. And I kind of did, but I only mapped out every penny of the setup costs. I didn't plan in for the negative cash flow after opening. When you first open your site, you have 0 customers and you still have all the rent and rates, electricity, etc. So think of it like this. On day one, when you first open, you have all the expenses. Your expenses is up here. I'm just checking on the camera, see if you can see this. Your expenses are up here. Then over time, your revenue on day one, it's here. But over time, it starts increasing as you get more and more customers. But the great thing is your expenses stay the same. So your revenue keeps increasing over time. And then eventually you're at a cash flow positive position. The period when you're under your expenses is called negative cash flow. It doesn't last for long and you'll soon be in a positive cash flow, but you still need to account for it. Otherwise, it can, as I found out, it can be very, very painful. Now, I always project for this period. I personally call it the lease up phase, and I actually sleep a lot easier at night because of it. Lesson 24, leverage debt. I would save up months and months to buy a new container. Bearing in mind, I had customers waiting and ready to move into that new container. But by the time I saved up to buy the container, the customers has obviously gone elsewhere. They just couldn't wait. So I had a container available, but I had no customer to fill it. I was stuck in this cycle. I didn't have the container for the customer, but then when I finally saved up for the container, I had the container, but I didn't have the customer. So either no container and a customer, or a container and no customer. It drove me mad. I told my mentor my issue. He then said to me, have you thought about debt? I was like, it was like most people, to be honest. I hated the idea of getting into loads of debt. To be honest, I was skeptical. He said, no, Dean, you've got this all wrong. Have you heard of leveraging debt? Do you know what? I'd heard of the words before, but I didn't really know what they had to do with self-storage. He then continues saying, you do know containers are assets, and when you finance an asset, it's different. The finance is backed by the asset, not backed by you. So worst case scenario, you just give the container back. That's it. Okay, I was interested. He then continued, because the finance is backed by the asset, aka the container, the rates are really, really low because there's little or no risk to the lender. Honestly, this one conversation changed everything for me. And I'll be honest, I really took his words to my head, and I am over £2 million in debt. And I love it. If you, just for example, argument's sake, if you're borrowing at 5%, 10%, whatever, and you're getting a 41% or 50% return, then it makes sense. Anyway, back to the video. My mind was blown. Suddenly, I could expand for just, get this, £12 per week for the container without risking any of my own money. I actually remember working it out, and it was only £1.70 a day. What? That's crazy. My mistake was thinking you could only get a container if you paid up front for it. I honestly felt like a right plonker. So I now leverage the heck out of the containers, and I raise asset finance every single time I need a new container. And it's helped me to grow to 6 sites. Honestly, without that, I'd be still stuck in that cycle. I'd probably have 2 or 3 sites. So that one bit of advice has doubled the amount of sites I have. Lesson number 25. You don't need as much as you think. One of the biggest myths is that you need mountains of cash to get into self-storage. But that is simply not true when you find the correct and right site. In fact, I have one client who set up his self-storage for just £10,000. Don't get me wrong, this isn't typical, but it is possible. I've actually done a podcast episode with him, and he talks all about how he did it. I also have a training in my program all about how you can set up a self-storage site for under £20,000. But I feel the need to add in here, yes, you can set up for around about £20,000, but that's not every time. To give you some concepts, I'm setting up a massive site in South Shields. It's 2.2 acres, and it will cost me around about £67,000 in cash flow, negative cash flow if you like, for that period. But It's not a bad deal when you consider this site will do multiple six figures in profit. So I'll do a video all about South Shields soon. But yes, you can set a site up for under £20,000, but I don't want to mislead anybody and say you do that every time. You've got to find the perfect site for that, and we go through that in the course. But I don't want to say you'll find them all the time because that's just not possible, but they are out there. Right, lesson number 26. The 8% increase people don't see. One of my clients used to bill customers monthly, just like most people do in the industry. That's 12 invoices every year. See, I told you I did GCSE maths at school. By the way, I got a C. Go on, Dino. But I knew one change would increase his revenue. I suggested switching to charging every 4 weeks instead of monthly. It simply turns out there are 13 4-week periods in a year, and that would mean the revenue jumped 8% overnight without charging any more or adding any more customers. Lesson 27. Long-term rentals equal discounts. I know what you're thinking. This isn't anything new or groundbreaking. Well, wait one god-darn minute there, sir, or madam. We do this a little bit different. Yes, on the website, it will always be a little bit cheaper if you pay for a year up front. But like we've already spoken about, most people only think they're going to use self-storage for a couple of months. So rarely does anybody come along and pay for a year up front at the start. So what we do is a little bit different. We contact the customer after they've been in self-storage for 6 months. They have already seen the big benefits of self-storage, and at that point they are thinking more long-term. We simply contact them and ask if they'd like to save X amount by paying up front for a year. This is one of those win-wins again. It's a win for the customer because they save money, and it's a win for us because we get a large cash flow injection up front, and we also have a guaranteed customer that stays at least a year. Now, not everybody will take you up on it, but we've found around about, depending on sites, between 5 and 15% of customers actually take you up on it. That's a hell of an increase in revenue. Lesson number 28. Don't just pay what the landlord wants. When I visited my fair site, I asked what the rent was. He told me. I just shrugged and said, okay, I'll take it. There was no questions. There was no haggling. And if I'm honest, that was a proper rookie mistake looking back. Fast forward to these days and I negotiate everything. Don't get me wrong, I want it to be a fair deal for me and a fair deal for the landlord as well. I don't want to take advantage of them, but I don't want them to take advantage of me. There has to be some give and take. On my last deal, I ended up paying half the rent the landlord was asking for, and I got a big rent-free period as well. Rent-free periods certainly help to negate the cash flow period when you're actually in negative cash flow, and we spoke about it earlier. And to be honest, in some cases, it can actually eradicate the negative cash flow periods altogether. So never ever just pay what the landlord wants. The numbers have to add up. Lesson number 29. Keep a good relationship with your landlord. At my Willoughby site, I used to pay rent a month in advance, just like most other people. After a while, and once by the way, I built up a really good relationship with him and trust, I asked him if I could switch to paying a month in arrears. To my surprise, he said yes, and I effectively skipped 2 rent payments, easing my cash flow, and do you know what? It was a massive boost. It just meant we could utilize that money for something else. So the lesson here is if you don't ask, you just don't get. Once you've got a good track record of paying on time and a good relationship with your landlord, see if you can pay rent in arrears. It's a simple change, but it can boost your cash flow by a massive amount. It can really make a difference. Lesson number 30, break clauses equal less risk. One site I signed up for, this is bad, this is honestly, I was so eager that I agreed a 20-year lease with no break clauses. I tell you, it was bad, didn't I? It sounds all right until you realise if it all goes wrong, you are stuck paying the lease for 20 years. That's not ideal. And get this, the lease was £50,000 a year. So I was locked in for paying £50,000 a year for 20 years. That's a cool £1 million. Now I always make sure I negotiate a tenant-only break clause. Not a break clause for both parties, tenant only. That way, if the site isn't working for whatever reason, I have an out and I'm not on the hook for millions of pounds or for years of rental income. The lesson here is simple. Don't sign your life away. Always try to secure a tenant-only break clause in your lease. It massively limits your downside, which is only a positive, and gives you room to pivot if the site doesn't perform for whatever reason. Lesson number 31. Don't limit your searches. I tell people this all the time. My first site in Beverley, it was flying and making really good money. I well and truly got the self-storage bug and I couldn't wait to open my second site. But there was a problem. I couldn't find another site to open in my local area. So instead of doing what I would have done now and widening my search to other areas and even other counties, like I tell everybody to do now, all my students, I decided to open, I can't believe I'm saying this, honestly, because I couldn't find another self-storage. I decided to open a restaurant. Yes, a restaurant. That's nowhere near. It's self-storage. I mean, if it was property, I could understand it. But no, it was a restaurant. A restaurant. It was nothing like self-storage. Anyway, so I didn't open a second site. I opened a restaurant. Fast forward 18 months, and guess what? My restaurant had lost over £180,000. That's over £10,000 a month. It was my entire life savings. I did manage to sell it in the end, but I did lose loads of money, over 180 grand. But more importantly, I lost time. All because I didn't know you can run a self-storage site remotely, meaning you don't have to open on your doorstep. You can open hours away and it'll still be the right decision. All right, this closing lesson, it's kind of a plug for my program. And if you made it this far, you will love my program. Lesson number 32, don't go it alone. I have literally paid every self-storage consultant I could find here in the UK and even self-storage consultants in America. I've been to just about every self-storage conference in the world, including the World Self-Storage Conference in Vegas. Honestly, it's not a bad trip to put on expenses. As it happens, I even ended up speaking at that conference in Vegas. It was the most nervous I've ever been, by the way. It was a horrible experience. Well, it kind of was. Anyway, back to the lesson. I did enjoy it, but it was really nerve-wracking. In 2024, I paid mentors over £100,000. Crazy, I know. But I think of mentors like my cheat code. Why wouldn't you want to learn from somebody who has been there and done it? Got all the battle scars so they can teach me what works and what doesn't. Every single time I have paid for a mentor, it's paid off. Whether it was a few grand or a much bigger investment, it always turned into more knowledge, better systems, and ultimately higher revenue and more profitable sites. Everything I've learned from 14 plus years in self-storage, I now share so people don't make silly, costly errors like I have done. And let's be fair, you can tell by the length of this video, I've made more than a few mistakes. And you know what? That's not even the half of it. I've made even more. So the lesson, the takeaway for the final lesson is have mentors. Mentors aren't expenses. They're an investment. Honestly, I truly, hand on heart believe that. It's a shortcut to success. So, here's my plug. Cough, cough. Talking of mentors, I do have an application process to work with me. It's in the bio and it's a gentleman's agreement. The reason it's an application process is I can only take on 10 people a month. And also, I want a gentleman's agreement where we sort of shake hands and say that you won't open up near me and use this against me like other people have. So that's why that we do the gentleman's agreement application process. And if you want to see some more self-storage content, then keep watching this channel because there's going to be blooming, amazing, brilliant videos coming out. This is the first of many. Every Wednesday, we will be uploading a new video. Okay, my friends, if you've made it this far, I don't know how you've done it. It's taken me ages to record. I appreciate you. I love you. I appreciate you. And I can't wait for the rest of this journey. And like I say, if you do want to work with me, we do have an application process, only taking on 10 because I work very closely with you. There's weekly calls, etc. And we can get you opened a self-storage. It's changed my life, a self-storage, and I know it can change other people's as well. All right, my friends, I'm going to go. I love you. I appreciate you. And I'll speak to you soon.